Hello, BookTube. I'm continuing here to make my video record of the books in the little book room here, my little sanctum sanctorum, my little space full of books where I can close the door. I can close the door and shut out the world. It's got one nice window. It's got some natural light. It's got all my favorite books. It's got my battered old bed. It's got my nightstand with my green shaded lamp. It's usually got an entire bed full of beagles, but nowadays, in these weird latter days, there's just one tiny little dog who's not a beagle at all. uh, and I am doing this. I have done this before on this channel where I make a visual record of what I've got in this room. This room changes less than any other room because these books really filter through a lot more filters than other books do. Most of the books that I get secondhand, for instance, or even from publishers, they are interesting to me. They are fascinating to me in the moment, but they are the chaff of the moment. And in moments, they're going to be gone. In the next season, they're going to be gone. And I'm never going to need to go back to them again, although sometimes I do want to. But these things, these are the semi-permanent things. So we're doing another shelf. There are no Transwise books on this particular bookcase. This was built exactly to spec, so it's just books that fit and nothing else. So the first one is Thomas Mallon. This is his book, A Book of One's Own. This is his history of people and their diaries, of people who keep personal journals. Starting with, obviously the most famous ones, but moving on to less famous people, and writing all the while about what it's like to keep a journal. I love it. I love this book. I love books about this sort of thing anyway, but this and one other book where he wrote about snail mail correspondence are the last times where this author and I were on the exact same page, as it were. After that, especially with his fiction, we have parted ways and been quabbling. But this is terrific, and if it doesn't convince you, something that I have tried to convince you of, to start your own journal, then I don't know what will. You should start a journal. You should keep a journal. I'll do another video on how to start and keep a journal. How's that? Then we have a Modern Library hardcover of something called Moby Dick I guess it's by Rockwell Kent, with illustrations by a guy named Herman Melville. And it's about a big fish. Not really up on my nature books. Somewhere our long lost Robin Song Reads is screaming at the screen. No, this is one of the many, many, many copies of Moby Dick that I have in this room. I love this particular volume because I like these old beige paper-covered modern libraries, and I also love the fact that the old Moby Dick, not the Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition, which has only one Rockwell Kent illustration, but the old modern library has the whole suite of Rockwell Kent illustrations, which is the little ones and the big ones, the full page ones and not, and that's wonderful. It's a really, it was known at the time that this would be a classic Moby Dick edition. So I also like the way these brick modern libraries fit in the hand. Okay, then we have this thing. This is A Legacy of Spies by John le Carré. This is very late in his career, and you can testify to that by the fact that the publisher doesn't need to describe anything about the book. They don't need to put blurbs on the back or anything like that. They don't need to bother. You know who John le Carré is at this point. This is Peter Gillam, who's a character in the Smiley novels. Here he's in old age. He's retired. And the circus, the intelligence agency, reaches out to him. They want to question him rather severely about aspect of his Cold War service. But the people who are questioning him, two of the people who are questioning him especially, they're young. They don't remember the Cold War. To them, he is worse than a relic. He's a liability. This is in many ways the last hurrah of the Smiley world. If, like me, you think you have your suspicions about whether or not the very last Smiley novel was actually a fully flown creation of John le Carré. And this book, when did it come out? This came out in 2017. I don't have a clipped review in here, but I'm pretty sure I did review this. And what a thrill it was to review a John le Carré novel after I'd left the reviewing world and come back to it. But when this came out, even long before this came out, once the Berlin Wall came down, once the Cold War seemed to be ending, I found myself wondering, well, what are these people going to do? John le Carré most of all, but everybody else, Tom Clancy, what are they going to do in a world that doesn't have the United States versus Russia? And I had that a long, long time ago. I had that conversation with some bookish friends of mine in the back room of a bookstore, and one of them was a bookish friend, but he was not himself an author. He was instead connected with the U.S. government. And he looked at me and said, there's never going to be a time when it isn't the United States versus Russia. I thought he was crazy. I see now what he meant, but I guess he was crazy. There was one alternative that he could not possibly have imagined, which is that there would come a time when it wouldn't be the United States versus Russia because the United States would be a vassal state of Russia. That never occurred to him. I'm sure that never occurred to him. But at the time, I thought it was silly because these guys built their entire careers on the Cold War. But John le Carré stayed relevant. He stayed able to write great books. Somehow, I guess, from writing talent. And this is also one of the few John le Carrés I do not have as an ebook. So when I saw it, when did I find this? I got it from the publisher, an advance copy. I got this in 2023. I got it, the copy from the publisher, though, and I got the advance copy and I got the finished copy. I got rid of both of them. Went a long time without it. And then realized not only did I review this, I think, if I find a review, I'll link it down below. But also that it's really, in a way, the last hurrah. That I grabbed the next hardcover copy that I saw. Okay. There's this thing. See, the problem with a perfectly fitted shelf is it's sometimes not easy to get the book out. I lived with this book. Oh my God, I lived with this thing for so long. This thing and two others. This is a private spy, the letters of John le Carré. So when I'm reading on the bed here in the little book room, that face is staring at me the whole time. I don't so much mind. These are utterly fascinating. These letters are utterly fascinating. We have had in the last 10 years or so, we have had a little run of great letter collections, big letter collections, but also great ones. And I worry, of course, that they are the last hurrah, that is the reason this seems great is not only because those individual volumes are great, but also because they're the last of their kind. I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure that the Brat Pack, that the literary Brat Pack wrote letters. I'm pretty sure that they did. And some of them, David Foster Wallace, holy be his name, most among them, were probably religiously fetishistic about saving their early emails. So there may be more correspondence volumes, but nowadays? Now? No. No. No, people don't do that now and couldn't do it now. So these may be a thing of the past. Okay, then we have a book that is duplicated in this room. There are two copies of this in this room. This is the complete Western stories of Elmore Leonard in this yellow spine trade paperback that is so iconic. I love it so much. This is all the Western stories, short stories that Elmore Leonard wrote. And this book was just moved, mutatis mutandum, to the Library of America for a volume called Western Stories. So this exists now. I have that book in this room, and I have this in this room too. But I couldn't, even though I got that Library of America volume, I couldn't do without this iconic volume. So this is in here. And those of you who know Elmore Leonard for his contemporary crime novels, Get Shorty and that sort of thing, if you've never read his Westerns, you really should. They're really, really good. You've almost certainly seen one of his Westerns. 310 to Yuma is an Elmore Leonard story that's been adapted for the screen twice that I know of. But you really should read his Westerns, the stories and the novels. Make a point of it for an upcoming BookTube event, June on the Range. Make a point of it for June on the Range. You will not be sorry. Then we have an older book. This is Architectural and Social History of Boston by Harold Kirker and James Kirker, called Bullfinch Boston. This is Boston pretty much. This is from 1887 or 1787 to 1817. If you extend it 1817 to about 1850, that would be the period of Boston's greatness, the period that I think deserves a great work and doesn't have one. Bullfinch was a great architect, so it is possible. It's entirely possible that I might inflict it on you. It's possible to go on a Bullfinch tour of Boston and just look at the Bullfinch buildings. The only difference between a tour guide and yours truly, if you chose to do that, is that I have been inside every one of the Bullfinch buildings. I'm not just looking at them from the outside. I've been inside them. I know every room. I know every time the rooms were redone, so the new walls were put in or old walls were taken out. I know every basement and every sub-basement. I know the connections between some of those buildings that some of their own owners don't know, I'm sure. The way the buildings are literally connected underground. And I know their history's going back to the first brick. And that's why I love this book. It again, is going to be a nightmare for you readers of a certain type. You readers of a certain type are going to want all the Boston books in here to be together, and they're not. Oh, all right, great. Then we have some Tolkien. This is this beautiful illustrated edition of the Unfinished Tales that has the cloth bookmark and the beautiful color illustrations. You've got that on the cover and this on the back. Huh? This is a rare instance. When we saw the Silmarillion in this edition, the front illustration was easily recognizable to even surface Tolkien fans, but the back illustration was a bit of a puzzler unless you knew the lore. And here, the front illustration is a bit of a puzzler unless you know the lore, and this is familiar to everybody, including people who aren't Tolkien fans, just people who love the movies are going to recognize that scene. So we've got the Unfinished Tales in that edition. I've also got the Silmarillion in that edition, which is these are just lovely. I don't have the Lord of the Rings in that edition, in any kind of lavish new illustrated edition, because every time I get one of those, it's one of those about every 2 years. The last one was a gorgeous thing with illustrations by Tolkien, with Tolkien's own illustrations inside it. And every time I get one of those on this channel, I send it out right away. One of you wants it really, really bad. And in a case like that, A, you're never going to see that thing used. Never. You're never going to find it in a secondhand bookshop. And B, it's eye-wateringly expensive. And the minute the first print run is over, it's just triple that. They become collectible then. So it's not hard to work on Steve. It's not hard to play me like a fiddle if in a circumstance like that. Of course, I'm going to send the book out. So I did. So I have very little in the way of that. Oh, okay. Then we have, this is just an old, is this from World War II? Almost 1946. This is the bathroom reader. And this is just, see, you've got everybody headed for the bathroom. Everybody in the house is headed for the bathroom. And this is the book that you used to keep there. You would keep this. It's little bite-sized digests of all sorts of different things. Fiction, nonfiction, literary profiles, political profiles, sports profiles. It's just a cute little book. Of course, this is an industry. Used to be an industry. There was Uncle John's bathroom books that were sold like crazy. There were, I don't know how many of those there were. And those had the extra cheek of being slightly laminated. It was assumed that they would get a little watery. I say used to because I don't think this is an industry anymore. I think that 99.9% of the world simply brings their phone into the bathroom. When they've got a little sitting time coming up, they just bring their phone in. I don't think there's such a thing as a bathroom book anymore. But this is just delightful to figure out, to just see what the editors were thinking to include is interesting all by itself. And then finally we have Roger Tory Peterson and James Fisher. This is their classic book, Wild America, which is a walking natural history tour of all of America with gorgeous illustrations all throughout. Just beautiful spot illustrations of all the animals, but also location illustrations as well. There's Frida. This is an absolutely beautiful book with, as you would guess from Roger Tory Peterson, beautiful descriptions of the natural world. There's a certain type of bookshelver, you know who you are, who wants all of the same kinds of books to be together. And there are natural history books all throughout this room. Theoretically, I could fill a bookcase with them, just pull them from everywhere, pull everything off one of these bookcases and just fill it with natural history, and then I would know where all the natural history was, but I'm never going to do that. Or if I do it, I'm going to look at it for one day and say, well, gee, isn't that neat and clean? And then I'm going to go to that bookcase because I want to read, I don't even know, Illumination in the Flatwoods. I go to that bookcase because I want to read one of those books or some passage of one of those books. I pull it off. I walk with it to the bed or to the fainting couch. I read it, reread it, re-annotate it, maybe think about writing about it on my newly revived literary blog, Steve Reads. And maybe I set it down wherever I've taken it to read because I've got writing to do, or I'm making a million videos for you people, or I'm going to take the bean on a walk outside. And the next day, I come into this room without that book. I have momentarily forgotten that I have set it down on the footlocker by the fainting couch. I come into this room and see an opening where that book was. I am immediately going to think, oh, there's an opening. I'm going to grab the latest little book room book that I have. Is it science fiction? Is it Dostoevsky? Doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to grab the latest one of those that I have and say, oh, I never have room in here. I'm going to put it right in that spot. And then a day later, a week later, I'm going to notice the natural history book on the footlocker and think, oh, yeah, that's right. Well, that space is taken. So I better find somewhere else to put this. So in the course of time, that neat little bookcase of all natural history books is going to be gone. It's just going to be gone. I use these books. I live with these books. So I tend not to do that in this room. Sorry to that kind of reader. But anyway, that is this shelf. We're going to move on next time. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.